And I'm actually going to get right into it. And you really want to know how. You know, how can I blaze my own path? How can I be successful? How can I follow the path that someone else has laid for me to be successful?
Yo, 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 this is the Queen of Zenubia, and we are back with another amazing episode of the Hustle and Motivate podcast, where we are bringing hustlers who are doing the work to the couch to motivate us so we can keep doing what we need to be doing. So before we get into today's episode, I need to make sure that you guys have already downloaded the Cincy Black Travel app, and I need you to be booking your trips. I'm telling you, we have so many deals happening all over, not just the country, international, Jamaica, Italy, wherever you want to go. We have tons and tons of deals. Make sure you're checking it out. It's powered by CBG, and we're ready. And don't forget, the best week in July is the best weeks in July are slowly creeping up on us. So make sure you're booking your trips to come to Cincinnati so you can enjoy Black Tech Week, Cincinnati Music Fest, and the Black Music Walk of Fame, which are some of the Midwest's biggest R&B events and festivals happening all over the country. So make sure you're downloading the app so you can get the deals on all of those amazing things. And make sure you get you a bottle of Uncle Nearest, one of the most smooth and premium bourbons that you can ever get on the market, and it's black owned by a black woman in Memphis, Tennessee. So make sure you're getting your bottles of Uncle Nearest. They are proud sponsors of the Hustle and Motivate podcast. But without further ado, I would like to bring my guest, Dr. Jeff Menzies. Thank you for coming. This is definitely going to be a treat, because if you are not hip to this brother, I'm guaranteeing you after this interview, you're going to be looking him up. So make sure you follow. But let's get into this conversation. First off, thank you for coming to do this interview with me. I'm excited to talk because you have some amazing things happening in Cincinnati. And it's May, so it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So this is your realm of what you do best. So tell us a little bit about you, what you do, who you are, and we'll get into the conversation.
That's what's up. Well, I appreciate the invitation. Everything you got going on, sis. I am so honored to be on this platform right now. For those of y'all that don't know, we go back a little ways to the Nashville, Cashville days.
Yes.
Beating the pavement down there. It was a whole different vibe in Nashville. It's basically a college town, a lot of cultural events going on. We had a really good time in Nashville programming and bringing events together. But a little bit about me. Jeff Menzies, a doctor of clinical psychology, born and raised right here in Cincinnati. Kid from Roseline, then over to Bond Hill.
Okay.
Fathers people from Madisonville, so got a little bit of everywhere going on. Finished up school here, then went to college down at Fisk University in Nashville. Did a bachelor's and a master's in psychology and clinical psychology, and then did my PhD up at Howard in clinical psychology as well. Spent a lot of time up there in Chocolate City, programming, bringing together community events, wellness events. Went to go work at Fisk when I got finished and did some more of that programming. Really love to do community-based education, bringing resources and opportunities, to our everyday grassroots organizations and people that they may otherwise not have access to. Information like, cleaner foods, health and wellness events type, kinetic yoga, all type of meditative philosophies. Just trying to make sure that our people have access to the best, highest quality of information, practices, so that we can kind of curb some of these negative statistics that we seem to always be at the head of the pack when it comes to.
All right, so I feel like that response was it was definitely on point about what this brother does, but I'm telling you, he is somebody you definitely need to know. Like you said, it's crazy. We met in Nashville, but happened to be from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
And then being able to be in contact for this long, because that was like, I think, probably like 14, 13 years ago.
Easily.
And you have, even then, knowing you had this vast of knowledge and these experiences, and then you have continued to just add to that. And you are a wealth of information, especially for our people, especially now. Especially like the climate, because we always talked about days like this back then.
Right.
And now we're living in it, but then it's kind of like, at first, I know with me, I I wasn't sure how things would turn out, but now I see it's kind of like we were getting prepared to be of service for now, because it's like people wanting this information and are seeking, and it has to be given in a special way when it comes to our people, which is why I think it's important just to even have you on this platform to talk about mental health awareness in this space geared towards our people, because I think when you talk about that, it's different from another race, because we have different things that happen to us that a lot of people can't identify with. So, like I'm telling you, we could be here, y'all, for a few hours if I wanted to delve in just different types of areas. But I want to talk about some of these events that you have coming on here this month, and why do you feel like these events were important for you to do?
Yeah, right on. So yeah, you bring up a really important point, and I can't go too much further without pointing out that you get it honest. You get your hustle, you get your drive honest. Your mother goes hard in the paint, so I got to make sure I shout out to Zana. She's been on the ground beating the pavement, bringing wellness, bringing information, insight to the community. Yeah. So you know what I mean. So I definitely got to tip my hat to Mom, because you know what I mean. You get it honest. They say don't fall far from the tree.
No,
this is a testament to that. So shout out to you and your family. This mental health piece, Mental Health Awareness Month, as you pointed out, it's very important that we get the information in a way that we can digest. You know what I'm saying? That's relatable, that's relevant, and it comes in a language that we already speak, right? Because there's plenty of events that take place. The event that we got coming up through yoga that we're going to talk about in a little bit, for example. A lot of times when we think yoga, we're thinking we got the stereotypical view of yoga. It's either going to be some little dude from East India in the turban, you know what I'm saying, sitting, cross-legged, and or it's going to be some young white woman, in leggings, rushing into a yoga studio with her mat tucked on her arm. Rarely do we see, well, more so nowadays than we used to in the past, see the image of Black people, performing and practicing yoga. And just like you said, we put our flavor on everything. Yeah. And it's not necessarily that we're adding something to it. Most of the time we're just blowing the dust off of it.
Yeah.
Right? And realize like, yo, we've been doing this? That episode Richard Pryor show way back in the day when he was in the temple.
Hieroglyphics, yeah.
He was up there looking at the metal niche at the hieroglyphs like, wait a minute. And Black people are God, and what they do, they locked him in the chamber, right? And so,
like, oh no.
Right, they're about to wake up. And so a lot of it is not that we're adding, but that we're discovering or rediscovering.
Yeah.
And so, when we look at the yoga event we got coming up with Master Yasir Hotep, this brother is 6'3", 6'4", south side of Chicago, big burly dude, ex-football player, but he's a yoga master. And not only did he take on the banner of yoga, but he delved deeper into our ancestral lineage and discovered that, whoa, these folks way back in ancient Egypt were also doing yoga. And the brand of yoga that you find back there is literally written on the walls. And so what you'll find is a lot of these postures that he's bringing forward are literally images that you're going to see on the figurines on the walls. And these are divine postures, right? Yeah. These are postures that help you to not only physiologically reduce stress, get blood pressure regulated, and none of this is medical advice, by the way. This is just for entertainment education purposes, right? Seek your medical practitioner, a licensed one. But it's going to help you feel better if nothing else, right? Yeah. But in addition to that, it also brings a sense of mental and psychological well-being, right? So you're looking at self-esteem, looking at self-confidence. When you feel more physically balanced as you step, you also feel more psychologically balanced as you move through the world, right? Yeah. And so it's like a plethora of benefits that come from practicing yoga. But I think one of the dopest aspects of what Yasir does and what he's bringing to Cincinnati is the fact that he's a Black man, right? A big Black dude, you know what I mean? And
right.
South side of Chicago, inner city, that speaks our everyday language, and he has over 30, 40 years of experience at this game. Yeah. He works with the babies all the way up to the elders with his yoga piece. And he's also a trained social worker, so he has that mind-body bridge all together. Yeah. But it's amazing though how once we discover our way, and once we're able to internalize it to a point to where we understand it and then we can teach it, the type of changes that we can bring into our communities. And that's really what the point is.
Yeah, and that's powerful because I know when I first started doing yoga, I did it because that was kind of like you did yoga and meditation together, and that was the thing to do to reach enlightenment.
Right.
And I took my first yoga classes at Cincinnati State, right? Because that's the only thing I ever heard about it for the first time. And so they had those classes, and I noticed a difference. I noticed like stress reduction and just like those basic benefits that you get from yoga from doing a session. And then like a few years later, I did a comedic yoga practice, and I felt all the basic stuff, but I also had this sense of empowerment.
Yeah.
Like when I got up from the session, like if you have not ever did a yoga whatever type of yoga and went into a session, if you're tensed and stressed out and foggy, when you come out, that like melts away.
That's right.
Like with that comedic yoga, I felt those two dynamics, and I was like, like, why do I feel this way? And so you were mentioning that these poses were ancient, powerful poses that our ancestors did. And I just think like that correlation, when you feel empowered, you have empowered thoughts, empowered mind, and stuff like that. When you think of mental health, it's like this type of practice are the practices that our people should be doing. So thank you, first off, for bringing that here, opening up the door to that. But can we talk a little bit about, I guess, that dynamic? Why do the poses and the stretching and the breathing kind of help us feel different or feel better?
No, that's a great question, because that's the part that's often left out.
Yeah.
Right? Understanding the dynamics, and if it is presented, it's usually not done in a way that we can grasp it.
Right.
And so I'm gonna boil it all the way down. Say make it plain, right? One of the things. So if you look at your body, we got a circulatory system where your blood circulates all through the body.
Right.
And it takes the shape of your body. So like you sit cross-legged, the circulation, it has to follow the bends of your bones and your muscles, right, to get to where it's going. The same with our digestive system, right, from our mouth, from the rooter to the tutor, what they say, right?
Right.
And so how you sit, how you pose, how you bend, how you shape your body, it also impacts the way that canal is shaped in your body. Same way, breathing. Unfortunately, we've seen too often when people are being arrested or otherwise detained, and there'll be a certain position in their body, and the law enforcement officers that have certain pressure on their body, and they often exclaim, "I can't breathe." And it's because based on how their body's positioned, the weight that's being placed onto the body, it also impacts how air is allowed to travel in and out of your body, right? So all of these are just indications of how, when your body is positioned a certain way, it impacts how all the things that need to flow through your body are also able to flow. And so you can have things where you can obstruct the flow in the breathing situation. Yeah. You can obstruct the flow. And, we have situations of constipation with people, right? It's an obstruction in the digestive, but on the waist side of it, right? And so when you start to understand that, then you can look at these yoga postures like, wait a minute, so you're telling me that when I sit in this position, when I stand in this position, when I bend like this, I'm literally manipulating all of the channels of flow in my body to get the blood to flow a certain way, to get my air to flow a certain way, to get my nervous system to flow a certain way, because that's all neurochemical, so that's electrical impulses, and it's chemicals, right? It's fluids, cerebral spinal fluid, things of that nature. All of these things are being impacted by how you posture and how you position yourself. And so now it's like, okay, we got that part. So why does sitting like this benefit me in this way? Why does standing like that benefit me in that way? And that's when you get down to the science of the individual postures and positions, right? Each one at its base is designed to manipulate how your circulation, your nervous system, your digestive system, your lymphatic system, your respiratory system, all your different body systems, and how their energy and fluids flow through your body. That's the basic point of it. Yeah. And with like anything, if you have an obstruction, let's say, for example, in your car, you have something that's blocking the ventilation system. It's cold outside, you're trying to get the heat flowing. And it's a block in the ventilation system. So what happens is you're not going to get the air to flow through. But if you get in there, sometimes it might just be something like some lint or something. Let's go to the vacuum cleaner example. It might be some lint blocking the suction. Yeah. You poke in there and you get that lint out, then it flows again and it starts to do its job better. It's the same with our bodies. We position ourselves, couple that with our visualization and meditation, our breathing practices, we start to unloose these blocks, right? We start to free up these blocks. And when you free up the blocks, you get more nutrients throughout your body. You get more oxygen going to the cells of your body. You get more the food substances, the vitamins and minerals and other substances that come from the food into the blood through the digestive system. and so the blood circulate throughout the body better, and now you're getting more vitalization into your cells and into your organs. So that's what this is really about. It's definitely a scientific practice. It's not some old spooky, faddish.
Yeah, because that's what our people be hearing when you say yoga.
Yeah.
They be like, ooh, I ain't doing that. That's bringing spirits on when you lay like this.
Right. But see, you know what I think about that stuff, so you know me well enough. When I hear stuff like that, I understand that it's a part of the trick. It tricks us out of our power, right?
Yeah.
Take it back to when we was enslaved on plantations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had certain ways. We understood roots and herbs, right? We understood meditation.
Yeah.
We understood imagination and visualization, and we communicated things to each other. We understood even the power of words. You know, the Bible talks about Bible talks about all these things. The Bible talks about crystals. When you talk about the breastplate of Moses and Aaron, you got the onyx, you got all types of crystals and stones. It represented the 12 tribes, and each one had its own attributes. But when you have a people that you need to maintain control over, one of the first things you want to do is take away what gives them their power. And not only take it away, because you can take it away and they'll still seek it. Right. You take it away and you make it a bad thing. So then they don't even want to seek it. And if somebody tried to show it to them, they're going, I don't know about all that now.
Like, oh, that's too much. I'm not doing that. Yeah.
But the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
I've always had this thing to where, you can't really depend on the people who are enslaving you to tell you what's righteous and what's not.
Yeah. And I'm glad you broke it down like that, given the scientific, not medical, but just the biology behind the practice. And when you go, that's the whole point. When they got to chop off your leg because you ain't got circulation going on to the leg. That's why that happens, because when you understand the body, like circulation and how everything flows is always flowing. Everything is always flowing, and when you have those blocks there, you can't get nothing could get through. So just it's just interesting, and I'm glad you broke it down like that, and hopefully that can open just a few minds. And it's weird because I think a lot of our generations, especially the younger generations, are more open to this type of information and knowledge. I see a lot of them transitioning and really looking for some guides and people to guide them on how to do it. So I want to talk a little bit about that, because Cincinnati is having this rise in gun violence. Well, not gun violence, but just violence with our youth. It's about to be summertime. It's about to be hot outside. A lot of the programs and offerings that are being offered to families and communities, they're only keeping the kids an hour, 2 hours out the day, but a lot of stuff pop off after 6 when the businesses are closing. And I don't know if it's become a thing here, but the people I bring here, I like to talk about what are some of your views with the work that you do. How can we combat that? Because I feel like these type of practices and this type of knowledge could be a resource that could help assist in just managing this crazy, hectic, chaotic energy that our youth are distributing. Because it's like parents ain't got no control anymore. And we need some resources, and I don't think the police is going to be a good resource for them to start using on our kids. So how do you think this type of information could benefit our youth in trying to combat this issue?
Gotcha. Yeah. Great points. The situation is dire, and it seems to be getting more and more dire, every year, as the season passes.
Man, you see them down there on the bank.
Yeah. And there's so many ways that we could talk about this. I'll touch on a couple points, but then I'll delve deeper on others.
Okay.
Because when I was first trying to figure out, why is it that in the summertime we seem to have more violence?
Yeah.
And what I came to realize is that molecules. When you talk about going from a solid liquid to a gas, basically you got to heat it up, and the molecules, they start to move faster as the temperature increases.
Okay.
They become more erratic, right?
Okay.
They start to go faster and faster the higher the temperature. So the solid is very slow. That's cool. You're typically a cool temperature solid.
Okay.
Heat it up, the molecules start to go a little faster, it liquefies.
Okay.
And then it turns into the gas. When it hits another temperature, they get free. They move a lot faster. And so I was looking at people, because we have molecules. We're basically molecules, right?
Right, the demon molecules evaporate.
but real talk though, right? So,
right.
So we begin to move faster as the weather, increases, right? The temperature increases. And that was just one analogy, and that's how I first came to understand it.
Yeah, because you want to be out. Yeah.
You get outside, and
Yeah.
People, you can get aggravated if you're too hot. Know? But the other part, though, sis, is that we lack a sense of purpose overall. Mm. And when you have a sense of purpose, then you are living life on purpose.
Right.
You're doing things more intentionally.
Yeah.
You're not as susceptible to all the messages that are going on around you. You're not as susceptible to the emotional state that you might have or somebody else. Mm-hmm. Right? You are more in control because you have a reason for living. Mm. When you remove a person's purpose or a sense of purpose, then what they're doing is they're kind of like they're just floating around. Whichever direction the wind blows, that's where I'm gonna go. It's like a leaf once it's torn off the tree.
Right.
Wherever the wind blows, it's gonna go. But as long as it's connected to its tree, it'll sway with the tree, but it's gonna stay connected, and it's gonna stay on purpose. Mm. And so what we see in our youth are a lot of individuals who don't have that idea that they have a reason for being here, that they're necessary, right? That they're valuable.
Yeah.
They kind of feel like they're throwaway. And the sense of value that they've been given, Dr. Amos Wilson, he talked about it all the time, how people who can control your sense of value and make you think that this is valuable and that's invaluable can then control how you move through life, basically, psychologically speaking. Okay. And so our children are like blank slates, and almost immediately they're getting pumped and pumped and pumped with these negative images, these negative statements, right? Whether it be in the hook of a song or, there was a song, the hook was basically talking about how a person does not want love.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, dang, how many times it's said in that song?
Over and
I don't
over.
even want love.
It's like they clone Tyrone movie.
Yeah, exactly.
They gave like the best description of that, and I think I heard that from you first, and in that movie kind of showed the visual of this what they're talking about.
And the movie didn't get a lot of play either, right?
Right, it didn't.
That was weird. I ain't like that.
Man, nah, that movie had a few little gems in there.
It was all through it. And so, looking at our children and how they cutting up these days, their behavior is actually reflective. It's an appropriate reflection of their environment, right? So what they're doing is normal for the context within which they're existing. Okay. Right. So if you look at, just listen to the top 10 songs right now, the most popular songs that the kids are listening to. They're actually acting according to the messages that they're receiving. Yeah. Right. When it comes to the violence, when it comes to the self-degradation and things of that nature. And so I don't blame the kids. I blame that. If there is something to be blamed, it's the lack of purpose, lack of sense of purpose. It's the environments that have been created, right? Because with all the cranes that we see in the sky throughout this city and any other major city, development is taking place. Yeah. But you got some places, just like you got some nations that are undeveloped and underdeveloped. And you get the same outcomes in undeveloped neighborhoods as you get in those same nations. And the same thing about that too, sis, is that in those same nations, they're typically resource rich. An undeveloped or underdeveloped nation is typically resource rich. And so is an undeveloped community. The resources are there, but the people who exist don't have control over their own resources. The number one resources in our hood is the human resource, us as people. But we allow other people to profit off of our ignorance and lack of purpose, sense of purpose. Then they can steer us wherever they need us to go. So we could be the number one consumers. We could be the number one of any type of product, clothing, whatever it is, drugs, alcohol consumption.
We make everything trend.
We push it. If we extracted ourselves from all of these different industries, the industries would typically crumble. So our number one resource is human in our hoods. And so you go back to that sense of purpose. If we understood that we are valuable, then we would demand more for our service. We would demand more for our participation instead of going for deals that oftentimes leave us in jail or dead, right? And so, looking at our youth and what can we do for them, like especially as the summer months come around, when you're in a situation of hemorrhaging, you got to do whatever you got to do to stop the hemorrhaging first before you can actually implement the healing protocol. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think that we're still in the hemorrhage state where we're just trying to stop the hemorrhage right now.
Stop them, yeah.
But if we need different groups of people working on different things. Yeah. You mentioned law enforcement, you mentioned police earlier. Police are great at what they do. Yeah. So I don't by any means diminish, their role in helping us in our communities. I know that you weren't either. But I think it's important to say that because we got movements talking about defund the police and all of that.
No, we
need the police.
Yeah, we need the police. The police, the police have to do their role.
Yes.
Has to do their role. And like you were saying, it's going to take all of us. Yes. More organizations to step up to the plate. Just can't have just one. No. It has to have all of them because we're dealing with mental. Illness. Yeah. To be honest, that's what we're dealing with.
Even within organizations like law enforcement,
Yeah.
Right? Because you mean if the average person understood the level of trauma that law enforcement officers experience on one shift, it ain't got to be them, because that's the thing about diagnosing PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be the you don't have to be the person that experienced it directly. You can hear about it. You can hear about a partner of yours that got shot across town, or even in another city.
Yeah.
And that's enough to traumatize you. And one of the characteristic traits of being traumatized is hypervigilance.
Yeah.
And so that's when somebody, reaches for their wallet, just unload on them. That's a sign of hypervigilance in some instances.
Yeah.
In other instances, it's just somebody who's looking for an excuse. You feel me?
Yeah.
So we got to be able to discern that too. But there are programs in the nation that look at the mental health and well-being of even our officers.
Yeah.
And so a program like yoga, officers who practice yoga, they have a more steady mind.
Yeah.
They're less likely to react and more likely to respond.
Yeah.
Which there's a world of difference between responding and reacting, right?
Yeah.
A reaction, you hit the knee, it kicks out. Response, you hit the knee and you think like, do I need to kick? If I kick, I might kick the camera over, I might kick the mic, Let me not kick, let me just move so I don't hit my knee again.
Yeah.
That's the response version, right? And so when you can start employing these tools, and we start top down, and then we start bottom up, and they meet in the middle, then what we eventually have is a more psychologically healthy environment. And that's what we're actually going for. Okay. And so when you start displacing people, with gentrification, when you start, kicking people out of homes, and you start increasing taxes to the point where people can no longer afford their property tax, or they're losing property, and then we allow like large corporations to buy up all of the single-family homes and units, and then they start to raise rent because it's unchecked and people can't afford to live anymore.
Yeah.
Then you're increasing stress.
Yeah.
When you increase stress, you open the door for all type of physiological and physical ailments.
Yes.
Right? Stress is the silent killer because it's the underlying issue behind a whole lot of different diseases, right?
Right.
Including the substance abuse diseases. And so our children, they're doing they're reacting appropriately to where they're finding themselves. Yeah. And it's going to be up to us to, you mentioned earlier, deal with the mental health and wellness of all of the people that are providing services. Because you can't have psychologically stressed, or you can't have a sociopathic officer, sociopathic medical staff, surgeons, racists. You can't have that and expect to have good outcomes for your community.
Right. Wow. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Key thing I take away is the sense of purpose. Sense of purpose means everything. Because when you have a purpose and you have a reason, you just navigate life just differently. Absolutely. Which has me going more into the mental health awareness, because I think that's like the missing component when you think of mental wellness. Yeah. Your sense of self means everything. So you have another event that's going to be happening and taking place also this month. So let's talk a little bit about that and what modalities will be featured or offered in that.
Great, yeah, thanks for that too. The yoga with Yasir, and then after that we've got Dr. Afia and Billy Shaka. Okay. So this sister, now we went to Howard together. Okay. And she's a phenomenal clinical psychologist. We're in a clinical program together, and she's also a licensed beautician. Okay. And so she understands, as many of us do, how relaxing and how psychologically beneficial it is for us to go and get our hair cut, at the barber, or get our hair styled at the beautician, and how having your scalp massage as you're getting your hair washed, and the conversation we're able to share and communicate, in a community fashion when we're in those environments. And so what Dr. Afia has done is she created a program called Psychotherapy, where she literally certifies and helps to train and build the competency in hair care and beauty care providers. Okay. Yeah, so we got a lot of beauticians and barbers who are in those contexts, and we're like giving advice, and where people are venting and emoting. And so what her program does is it tools up the barbers and the beauticians and the estheticians and the nail techs and spa workers to see the red flags. And not only see the red flags, but learn how to ethically navigate those situations and not overstep your role and start counseling people, but to learn how to refer, and learn how to help people to recognize the things that they're talking about and suggesting that they might want to go take a step towards getting mental health assistance. So it's a phenomenal program. And what we're intending to do is to bring in as many licensed hair beauticians, barbers, nail techs, spa employees to come to this event so that they can become more psychologically competent. So when they return back into their spaces, when they're taking care of our communities, they're doing it with one more tool on their belt. And so it's phenomenal. Both these events are free, sponsored by Wilberforce University. Bringing Wilberforce back into the community.
Okay.
The history of Wilberforce in Cincinnati is deep.
I don't even know
what
Wilberforce is.
So it's like, that's a part of it, though, right? When you look at the history of Wilberforce, there's, that's the closest HBCU.
Oh, okay. I thought Central State were.
They're right across the street from each other.
Oh, wow.
They're literally right across the street.
Never hear about. I think I probably have heard about them once.
Yeah, and that's a part of the issue, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a part of it. It's like, look, Wilberforce, let's get back into the community because we got a lot to talk about the kids again. We got a lot of children right here in the city that if they knew that there was an HBCU, two HBCUs right up the street, Wilberforce and Central State University, right up the street, 35, 40 minutes up the road.
Yeah.
That they would have their college aspirations might shift, especially when you understand how nurturing of an environment our HBCUs are, right?
Yeah.
We help to instill that sense of purpose. So we got Wilberforce partnered with NAMI, National Association for Mental Illness, Franklin County division, with a couple local partners as well, coming together to fund these processes so we can do it free for the community.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we removed that barrier. The other barrier is now is that awareness piece, right? Mental health awareness month, like you said. That awareness part is when we aren't aware that this stuff is important, then we don't necessarily value it.
Yeah.
We think that yoga stuff ain't for me. No, yoga is for you. It's for all of us.
Man.
I don't care if you've never done it today. Like, don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed. My mom was talking yesterday about how she took a yoga class. She was all wobbly, but she stuck with it. Right?
Yeah.
I started off wobbly. I'll probably be wobbly when I try it again, on Saturday. But it's something for all of us.
Yeah.
We're gonna deal with how to breathe intentionally, how to focus your mind, how to meditate, some very easy postures that you can go through. So it's an overall wellness event. And then even the event with Dr. Afia, the psychotherapy event, you don't have to be a hair care specialist to attend because, we got mothers doing children's hair, we got fathers doing children's hair. So it's for all of us who care about other people, right? Because we are all involved in this on one level or another.
Wow. Yeah, and the hair piece is crucial. That was talk about me being a hustler. That was my first hustle, doing hair. I started doing it at 8. And I realized, like, when you do hair, people, like, tell you everything. And it's kind of like that relaxation and where you massaging people's scalps and they're just going off into another level. I just to have that type of resource to know how to help just navigate. I think that's a really great program and interesting to see. So,
we partner with, locally, we partner with Destiny Beauty School.
Okay. Yeah. Shouts out Destiny, Black owned.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're working with her, because she has the training ground, literally. Yeah. And so one of my visions, and she and I were talking about it a little bit, one thing I want to really do is when Dr. Afia gets here, I want to connect them directly. Yeah. Because if we could somehow get psychotherapy as a part of the Destiny curriculum, and make her a local ambassador for psychotherapy piece, then we can have all these other schools who come to Destiny. To receive that training, because the end result that I want to see are service providers, whether we're talking about in the beauty care industry or we're talking law enforcement or we're talking educators, people who are more competent when it comes to psychology and mental wellness. We need that because we all hurt, we can all heal as well. Yeah,
and that's key. Healing can happen at any moment as long as you got that belief to want to heal or the drive to want to heal. It can definitely be healed. So yes, those sound like 2 great programs, free for the community. So make sure you guys tap in. I'm gonna have the information at the description of this video. And we hit on a lot of points. Again, I said we could sit here and talk for hours and talk about a lot of different stuff, but the mental health awareness piece is something really crucial. And I really feel that if we have more people such as yourself, especially when it comes to our community, not that I'm leaving out anybody else, but I just have a passion to help our community and not just give people money or give people clothes and food, but people need a sense of purpose. They need inspiration and they need that elevation. That's what's going to change things. And so I'm happy when I see people such as yourself and just different organizations creating spaces for us to start to get the tools. I think that's what we've been missing, the tools on how to deal with our shit. That's pretty much what it is. And so I'm excited. So, outside of those 2 events, like what other services, and things that you do? Because are you like, I don't want to put it out there because I know since this is Cincinnati based, you're based here now and working out of here. So how people can connect with you and just get some of the services and things that you offer, which I'm telling you guys, top of the line. So check them out.
My website is mindonthematter.com. You go to the website, see all the different things, some of the things that I do. I'm really starting to bring my community education workshops and stuff back to Cincy. Like I said, I've done them in DC, Baltimore area, internationally, Nashville and the Caribbean and West Africa. And so I finally get this opportunity to bring my knowledge, skills, and competencies and experiences back home to Cincy. And I'm really excited about that opportunity because I've done a lot of good work in a lot of places, and this is home.
Yeah.
This is home. These are the people here that know me from day one. You know, and so to have that level of trust, and to hear from people like to tell me stuff from when I was little, it feels really good, and for me to be able to offer back, to those communities and those neighborhoods, it really feels good. So check out the website. I got a lot of stuff coming up. Really trying to partner with a lot of organizations that are well established here in the city, because even though I'm born and raised here, I've been gone for a while. So this is actually my first time coming back as an adult and a professional.
Okay.
So a lot of people that are already well established, and I just say, don't be so guarded, y'all. Go and open up a little bit. Let's work together. I got a pretty good track record, and I know how to get things done. And being trained in psychology and clinical psychology, I also have the competency to help to elevate a lot of the things that are already happening here in the city. That's all I'm looking to do, is really to get us on track and help these next generations, because y'all see it, we are dying.
Oh my gosh, it's getting crazier and crazier. And like I said, kudos to people who step up to try to be a solution to the problem. But it's so much more is needed. And things like these are great starts. Can't get everybody, but it get those few.
That's right.
And it just continues to grow, because at the end of the day, our issues as a community can only be dealt with by us. Can't nobody else fix it. They can try to help us, but it's
one thing they can do is remove whatever element of harm they got in place.
Yes, yeah.
Get your foot off the neck. You know what I mean?
Right. Give me the opportunity.
There you go. One of my elders in Nashville, he said, to your point about how many people you get, you never know that what's the outcome.
Yeah.
He taught me. He said you can count the number of seeds in the apple, but you can't count the number of apples in the seed.
Yeah.
Profound, right?
Yeah, you
so
can.
when you think about that, it's like you got one seed that you might plant.
Yeah.
And if it turns into an apple tree and produces apples, then you got all the apples that tree ever produces. And then every seed in each one of those apples has the potential to do that same thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so when you gave me that perspective, I was like, wow. So then that really helped me to adjust when you start looking at numbers of people who showed up for something. It's like, well, it don't matter, because if that one seed is viable, we good.
Yeah.
We good.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for being on the Hustle and Motivate podcast. We'll definitely invite you back on. Definitely a great conversation. And I hope you guys have enjoyed it. This is another episode of the Hustle and Motivate podcast. Make sure you download the Cincy Black Travel app. Get those trips booked. We'll be back next week with another amazing episode. But until next time, y'all, peace.